Hello folks, my name is Mark, this is Why I Hate the World, how you guys doing? And now it's time for another installment of Things I Do Not Care About, this time for March of 2019. So let's jump right into it. First off, well, some really silly news. Fatburger is now going to be called Skinnyburger. That is real. I thought that was an Onion article or something to begin with, and that is just the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I mean, apparently they have a burger called the Skinnyburger, which is like, has no carbs in it. So it uses 2 pieces of meat instead of buns, which is like, so what is it, like 3 pieces of meat now with like lettuce and cheese and shit? Like, ugh, like how do you hold that without getting all the, I don't know, whatever. I don't know if it's gonna like, you know, trick people into thinking that Fatburger is now like a health food place or some shit, but that's fucking stupid. Then again, you know, I haven't eaten a Fatburger in like 15 years, so I think there's only one of them within driving distance of where I live. But anyway, who cares? Moving on. Some celebrity news. Jussie Smollett had his charges dropped, so to recap what's happening with that, he's an actor in Empire, and basically he hired a couple of guys to come beat him up and make it look like he was the victim of a hate crime in order to negotiate for a higher salary. And that is, of course, against the law in a lot of different ways. And apparently he's going to get away with it because he did some community service and was able to pay a $100,000 bond, which he defaulted on. So he basically paid you know, Chicago $100,000, and then also apparently has a lot of friends in high places up there, politicians and such. In fact, I think he's friends with Obama and Jesse Jackson and a couple other people. And somebody was able to make a phone call and get him off, which is, there you go, man. It just kind of goes to show you, you know, if you're rich and you're powerful, then the law, you know, there's a different set of laws out there. And, you know, the poor people, the rest of us, you know, we have one set of laws, and the rich and the powerful people have another set. And that's America for you. What are you going to do, you know? Oh well, at least maybe we can kind of like, you know, rest easy with the fact that this guy's career is effectively over. You know, maybe he might try to resurface in a decade or something, but I don't know. Anyway, how about some good news? Disney rehired James Gunn. That's some good news. So if you don't know the news, the story with that, I actually did a video on this a little while ago. Some tweets resurfaced from James Gunn where he was making jokes about, like, you know, some really jokes that are in real bad taste, right? But that's all they were jokes, okay? He didn't actually assault anybody. He didn't, like, commit any crime. He didn't rape anyone. He just made some really bad jokes about, like, pedophilia, right? And that got him fired. And specifically, it was the Gamergate, Comicgate, men's rights assholes led by Mike Cernovich that got James Gunn fired. And they were upset because Roseanne got fired from her show because she's a racist piece of shit. And they wanted to go and inflict the same thing on someone who's liberal. And James Gunn was just their target. Yeah, so he was basically targeted by right-wing assholes who got him fired from Guardians of the Galaxy. And, you know, the thing is, everybody knew that was bullshit to begin with, right? And a lot of the cast and crew of the Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, they stuck up for him. I think Batista even said he wouldn't come back, right, to the role as, you know, Drax the Destroyer if James Gunn wasn't rehired. And it looks like, you know, the good guys won. James Gunn is coming back for Guardians 3. So, good, because fuck Mike Cernovich and fuck all those people that did this to James Gunn. You know, they're a bunch of fucking assholes. Speaking of those people, the Comicgate people, the Gamergate, you know, Comicgate, and those fucking, you know, right-wing social justice warriors, because that's what they are. Speaking of those guys, there is a very incredibly stupid conspiracy theory going on out there about Captain Marvel, and it goes like this. You know, no one is actually seeing the movie Captain Marvel. It's not making it, you know, it's not, no one's actually going to the movies and seeing it. And the reason why it made so much money is because the Walt Disney Corporation is just buying all the tickets themselves in order to make it look like the movie is very successful, which is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in my entire life. That is incredibly stupid. The whole point, you know, the whole point of Disney's existence is to make money, okay? That's their corporation. That's why they have a charter, right? To do business is to make money. They're in the business of making money through many different ways, you know, whether it's through selling merchandise or theme parks or cartoons or TV or movies, right? And it kind of defeats the purpose of making money when you spend money, right, in order to make something look like it's successful. That's incredibly dumb, and it's because the movie, you know why they're saying this shit. Because there was a big campaign to make Captain Marvel fail, they wanted to do the same thing to this movie that they did to Ghostbusters and get enough of a negative vibe out there so that it would turn people off. So if people would go and see it, and then they would see all the controversy on it online, and they'd be like, yeah, I'm going to skip this one, right? And it didn't work. It didn't work because Captain Marvel went on to make, you know, $900 million, right? I mean, it's ridiculous how much money this did make. Right, so now it's like, well, they failed so fucking hard, it must be a conspiracy. And it's the dumbest fucking thing ever, and you know, don't believe this shit, okay, folks? Continuing on with some Facebook news, a little while ago, Elizabeth Warren put up an ad to break up Facebook, and Facebook did the exact thing that she was complaining about and took down her ad. So, what's the point with this? Why do people want to break up Facebook? Because this is something that's coming from both the left and the right. And the people on the left don't like the idea of a corporation having so much power from what people see and read and all that. You know, because that algorithm works in such a way that you can filter out pretty much any dissenting voices that you don't want to hear. Right. And they don't like that. You know, a lot of people blame social media and Facebook in particular for all the fake news you know, all the fake news that dropped during the election, and they think that's a contributing factor as to why Donald Trump got elected. Right. People on the right don't like it because they don't like the fact that their right-wing heroes keep getting continuously deplatformed. You know, people like Alex Jones, Milo Yiannopoulos, and so on. You know, because they want to be able, you know, it's under the guise of free speech, but in real life, they want to be able to say any kind of ridiculous racist shit that they want, and they want to be able to use these platforms, right? And I have kind of a mixed, you know, opinion on this. At the one hand, yeah, I don't like that people seem to be getting, you know, radicalized using social media sites like Facebook and Instagram and Reddit and all that. I don't really like that, but at the same time, I understand that these are private companies and they have an image to uphold as well, right? I mean, the thing is that, you know, you work for a corporation, and if someone on your corporation is engaging in hate speech or harassment, anything like that, and you don't do anything about that, then people are going to associate that with your corporation. You're already starting to see that with Reddit. You know, Reddit is starting to get that kind of reputation, the same that like 4chan has or something, right? Because, you know, like there was a story a little while ago, like maybe 2 years ago or so, about how people were sharing child porn on Reddit, and you know, the same kind of thing. It's like, well, imagine you own Reddit, you know, you got to do something about that. So, is it censorship? Well, yeah. I mean, that is the definition of censorship, right? But at the same time, it's like, you know, I think I'm okay with it because of the fact that it's not the government doing it, and it's because you can conceivably find another platform, right? And it does bother me. I will admit that it does bother me, and maybe there should be some kind of regulations involved when it comes to content or whatever. You know, maybe the government could step in and say, okay, you are and you aren't allowed to allow this kind of, you know. But then again, it's like, well, you know, we got that freedom of speech thing, you know, we have that First Amendment. So it's like, do you really want the government saying that? It's like, that leads into our next story, which basically is a law has been passed in the EU that holds content providers responsible on the internet for the content that, for user-created content, in particular copyrighted content. Right. So how it's been up until now is that if you upload any illegal stuff, like to say, copyrighted stuff to say YouTube, for example, right? People are in the habit of uploading full movies to YouTube and songs and things like that. And the way it's been before is that somebody would report it, or YouTube's algorithm would find it or whatever, and that person would get a content strike, and they do it too many times, they get banned, right? And now this law in the EU basically says that, no, we're going to hold YouTube liable for that. So that, let's say that, you know, you make a movie and then somebody illegally uploads your movie to YouTube, you can then sue YouTube, right, and for damages, which is very, very bad news for the entirety of the internet. Because the thing is, sites like YouTube, like Reddit, you know, and other sites that rely on user-created, you know, content, a lot of them, there's no way that you can get it all. There's just, you can't do it, right? So one of two things is going to happen. They're going to put up some incredibly restrictive filters and bots and stuff that will just delete everything that even has the slightest hint of a copyrighted material. Even things that, you know, fair use laws, fuck all that, right? Even something that somebody, like a video of you, you know, singing the happy birthday song, right, at your niece's birthday or something, that'll be included, right? And there's all kinds of bad things that could happen out of that. You know, already, the way it is now, YouTube continuously misidentifies things. Like people who put their own songs up will get copyright claims because it sounds too close to a different song, or, you know, just out of the blue, some group out there says the song belongs to me, and they'll get, you know, copyright strikes, right? Things that, you know, videos that, where you should be able to use, you know, for free use, right? For fair use, things like that. Stuff that's in the public domain gets flagged. I mean, it's very already screwed up, and this will just make it 10 times worse. Either that's going to happen, or these sites will just be blocked in the EU, right? And if you live in France or something, you just won't be able to go on YouTube. So, whatever, right? That's one of those two things is going to happen, you know. So yeah, I don't know. It's gonna change the internet the way we know it, or else it'll just fuck it up for everybody in Europe. So I don't know. Hopefully, because this law is only not gonna take effect for 2 years. Hopefully, it'll be reversed by then. Okay, let's end it off with some politics. Betsy DeVos tried to defund the Special Olympics. Yeah, I think that kind of shows what a special piece of human garbage Betsy DeVos is. So, if you don't know, she is like a multi-billionaire, right? She's actually, her husband ran Amway for a long time, and they've got their fingers in lots of different other pies. And I think this is an example of, you know, the Republicans, just the rich people, just taking from the least among us. The people who need that money the most, right? I mean, mentally challenged children. God damn, like, how can anybody see that and defend that action? I mean, even Donald Trump couldn't defend that because he reversed it and came out and said, no, we're going to defund the Special Olympics. That's a bridge too far, even for Donald Trump. I mean, Jesus Christ, what just a human piece of shit that woman is. You know, she has this is why you don't, like, get billionaires to be politicians, because they don't fucking care about people. Okay? She doesn't give a shit about actuals. You know, she's in charge of the education right? Secretary of Education or whatever, right? She doesn't give a shit about children. She doesn't care about education. She's there to funnel money to her friends. That's the whole reason why she's there. It's absolute ridiculous. Let's see what else. Speaking of Donald Trump, okay. So we all know that the Mueller report came out last week, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. It exonerates Trump, but it really doesn't exonerate Trump. It's just the, you know, it's just that there's no actual collusion there, but there may have been some obstruction of justice, whatever, right? We don't actually know because we don't actually have the report. We have a 4-page summary of the report. The actual report has not been released yet, and there still may have yet be some damning evidence in there. Right, of, you know, impeach-worthy offenses, and we just don't know because we don't have it. And it turns out that Mitch McConnell has blocked a resolution for the release of the Mueller report, and he just didn't do it once, he did it twice. 2 times they've tried to pass a resolution in order to get that report. He's blocked it twice. Which makes you think, you know, so if it really exonerates the president, like all Fox News and all the Republicans say it does, how come they won't show it to us? Right? Why? I mean, you would think that they would be very happy to just take it and shove it in our faces and be like, see, look, it exonerates them, see? You'd think that they would want to do that because that's what they always do, and that's what they're doing right now, running around on their fake-ass victory lap, right? Saying that the president, the whole thing was a witch hunt and there's no collusion, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, even going as far as, you know, I think Donald Trump is like saying that he wants to start persecuting some of the fucking FBI people or whatever. I don't know. Right. Lots of ridiculous shit happening, but they won't show us the report. And it's sort of like, you know, if you have nothing to hide, why not show it? It's because they have something to hide. Okay, so yeah, everybody on the left at least was really upset last week. Yeah, well, you know what, don't be so upset anymore because chances are you're probably right. And are we going to find it? Are we ever going to get it? No, we're not. We're not going to get it until one of 2 things happen. You know, the Democrats take over the Senate, right? Or Donald Trump leaves office. One of those 2 things, and then eventually we'll get that report. So, I don't know, but for the next 2 years at least, don't hold your breath. And, you know, let's just end off one more Donald Trump story, and this one's a little bit lighter, right? Last month, he was at a speech, and he called the CEO of Apple, Tim Apple, right? And apparently he didn't know this guy's last name or whatever, and he calls him Tim Apple. And that was a big, you know, ha ha ha, Trumpism, right? You know, Trump misspoke, he made a fool of himself again, whatever. The thing is that kind of thing happens all the time, you know, with politicians, especially presidents. It used to happen with Bush all the time, you know, they used to call him Bushisms. And even Obama as well would, you know, make mistakes in speeches and things. I mean, in fact, there was one that comes to mind where he said that, like, he visited 57 states on the campaign trail when he meant to say 47. And that just happens, you know, when you speak a lot for a living, you're going to make mistakes. It's a normal human thing. What makes this story, you know, newsworthy and I think pathetic, in my opinion, is that Donald Trump wouldn't cop to the fact that he made a simple, ordinary mistake that any normal human being would make. Because Donald Trump doesn't make mistakes. So he turns around, and the first thing he said was that I actually did say his last name, I just said it quietly and nobody could hear it. That was total fucking horseshit. We have a video of him doing this. He did not say the guy's last name quietly. And also he didn't say Tim from Apple. He said Tim Apple, right? So then the second thing that he said was, his second excuse was like, oh, well, I was just saving time. Right, I have just cut out unnecessary words to be efficient, which is like, the fuck are you talking about? Nobody actually does that in real life. And secondly, why are you saying that? Why is this your second excuse? Why would you just say that in the first place? He's obviously lying. It reminds me of when he tweeted out and misspelled the word coffee as Covfefe. I don't know if you remember that. C-O-F-V-F-F-E. and everybody made fun of him. This was like right after he became president, right? And it was in the news, and people were like making fun of him on the internet and shit. And he came out and said that he did it on purpose, that he spelled that word like that on purpose, and that the people who know what it means are, the people in the know what it means, or something like that, right? He basically tried to like play it off like it was like I did it on purpose as a secret message to my followers. It's like, get the fuck out of here. It's the dumbest fucking thing ever. And it's like, why would somebody lie about something like this? Because that's the stupidest thing ever to lie about. Just say that, yeah, you made a mistake. We all do it. And it's because his fucking ego won't let him do it. Right? You hear like in the news, right, people talking about how Trump has narcissistic personality disorder, right? And then everybody, on Fox News and on right-wing radio says that's ridiculous and all this other stuff. And, yeah, you're not a psychologist, you're making an armchair diagnosis or whatever. Then you see shit like this and you go, yeah, that's why people think he's a narcissist, because this is the kind of thing that a narcissist does. They don't admit mistakes. They can't, and it's not because they don't do it because they don't want to, look foolish or they're embarrassed. They don't do it because their fucking egos won't allow them to do it. All right? They have to be right all the time. They have to be correct. They have to win all the time. They have to come out on top, and it's like a psychological condition with them. Right? And it just there you go. There's the guy that right now is in charge of the nuclear arsenal. Just so everybody at home, just so it's just another little piece of evidence to show you that a crazy person is in charge of the country right now, right? This is the guy that's talking to North Korea for us, who's talking to Russia for us, who's negotiating trade deals with China and the EU. And you wonder why he's fucking it up so bad, okay? Because he's insane. Our president is insane. In fact, the whole world is insane, folks. That's all I got. Adios.